That is true. You are a crypto kraut, which you don't get enough credit for. You know, you have the Italian last name, and that does a lot of marinara. You're marinara washed, I would say. You know, where it's like, you know,
I deflect a lot with the Italian because Chris Stefano, you know, presented myself as this Italian, you know, like Puerto Rican women, all that stuff.
Sure.
And that stuff is somewhat true. But then I did the Ancestry.com, and it's 98% German. 98%. 98%
So
German.
even your dad?
Yeah, that's
German?
why me and Giannis had to stop the podcast for 3 years. It was like, I can't go near him. But, dude, so to the point where I grew up in Ridgewood, Queens has become like, it's like exploded.
No, Ridgewood is sort of like, it's Bushwick now.
Right.
Yeah.
So and it's the property values are through the roof, and that's where I grew up. So like you know how like Texas, like people from Texas, like backwood rednecks, are like sitting on oil fields and all like multi-millionaires, but they can like barely speak.
Yeah.
Those are the people of Ridgewood. Like now, like my family who like, you know, we freaking, you know, they threw like a party for me because like when I, you know, scored like 25 points in a basketball game, I made the Ridgewood Gazette.
Yeah.
You know, I was like the kid that made it out of Ridgewood doing comedy or whatever.
Wow, that's brutal. You're the one who made it out of. You're the success story out of Ridgewood.
Yeah, I'm the success story out of Ridgewood until it was revealed that Jeremy Allen White lived in Ridgewood for a few years before he did the Bear. And so now, he gets the Bear and I get 2 bears, 1 pig. So in Ridgewood they had such a big German population, to the point where this was explained to me, if the Nazis had successfully taken over Europe, they had like a plan, at least just some writings of them coming over and trying to take over the U.S. That was a real thing. They had submarines close to Long Island. And in that plan, they had one of the like main housing points for like their top generals, maybe even Adolf, was Ridgewood, Queens.
Your exact address?
Yes.
This is where they had circles.
Yeah, like this kid. So, you know, like it went around a lot, you know, recently how like the Nazis sold out Madison Square Garden in the 30s.
Yes.
The main catering came from 2 bakeries in Ridgewood.
Oh my God. You were fucking making the loaves of bread for Nazis?
Dude, so... And
that's insane.
Across the street from me...
And that's not close, by the way.
No.
That's not close. Ridgewood's not close for MSG.
No. They were like, we are specifically
they had to take the trolley in from there.
100%.
Yeah.
There was this guy, older man, who lived across the street from me when I was a kid. And I would always play with him and his grandkids. He was like just a cool older guy, like in his 70s, 80s. Yeah. My grandfather, who fought in World War II, would always like hang with him. They would like smoke cigars together or whatever. And then he died, right? And I didn't think anything of it, like just died. And then
the Mossad was outside with a blow dart. They got his ass.
Well, I didn't know because just being a little kid. And then it wasn't until years later when I was talking, my grandfather died, and we were talking about my grandfather at the wake. And one of my uncles was like, it's great how like, your grandfather was like able to just like make amends. Like that's what was great about his character is he could just forgive and forget and just keep moving on and whatever. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you know, like how his relationship was with Rudy. And I was like, what? And then he was like, what do you mean? He was like, you know, like I was like, oh, like the old man who lived across the street. He goes, yeah, I mean, those guys, you know, they were on opposite sides. Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. I was like, I thought they were war buddies. He was like, they weren't war buddies.
They weren't pals.
They said they fought in the war.
Oh, my God.
And so he was a Nazi.
There was just a Nazi hanging out?
Living across the street.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone was just cool with that.
Yeah, 100%. I told my mom because now the house is worth like 20 times what she paid for it. Because Ridgewood has exploded. I was like, when people come over to look at the house, you say, oh, a Nazi used to live there.
Right.
And see what happens. See how that makes them feel.
See if you can bring it down. See if you bring the value down.
Well, dude, it is one of those things where my mom has told me, I'm like, Mom, you should like sell the house. She's like, no, I don't want to sell the house. This is a family inheritance. She's like, you know, it is in the will. When I die, when my mom dies, she's like, this is going to go to you. I want to make sure you and your family have an asset. And I said, Mom, I'm going to sell the house at your funeral. So if you want to make the cash,
if you keep not being able to sell the lyric, that thing's going fast.
Exactly.
If you don't make bonus at Magooby's, you're selling that fucking house quick.
I was like, Mom, I because she always wanted to go on like one of those European Viking cruises, and I was going to get her one.
I mean, the Ridgewood racism is fucking. That's the Europe she wanted to see. The plunderers.
Yes, that's what she looked up to. So, and I was like,
the Nazi neighbor's fucking nuts.
I know.
And doing it like a heartwarming story. Like it's, like, oh, isn't it great? Isn't it great how they could put things aside?
Yeah, well, and then like, and they were telling me like they became friends and how like I used to play with like his grandkids, and I'm like, where are those kids now? Like, where are his grandkids?
They're in the Department of Health and Human Services. They're fucking running ICE right now. That's fucking crazy. They're wearing a ski mask and just trying to find anybody that has a tan. To try and fucking deport them.
Dude, the guy Dan Bongino from the head of the deputy director of the FBI. He's another Ridgewood, Queens guy. We went to the same high school.
That makes so much fucking sense.
Bert and Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call 2 bears, 1 cave.